Hi, lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Thank you for joining me tonight. We are being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. Now, if you are listening in on YouTube, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Mash it. And also, we do have the podcast, of course, so you can find the spaces between anywhere you can find your podcasts out there in the real world. That's at iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and all those other platforms. Hello, everyone. So, no matter how you are hearing me, please make sure you stop in and say hello. I want to see you and say hi. and And so I just want to thank you all for joining me here on my personal spiritual journey. And I don't know what to tell you guys. I am doing the best I can here as far as being on YouTube because I am totally plugged in. Seriously, we're hardlined. And it says I'm good. So I'm not sure what's going on there. So... Hold on. I have a wild camera. Anybody have a dog they want to hang out with? That was Basil sitting on the wires. Apparently he is just being a naughty doggy. Sorry about that, guys. Hope I didn't lose any audio. So no matter how you are hearing me, like I said, just stop in and say hello. Whether it's on YouTube later, through TFR or podcast, make sure you do those comments. I love them. And if you do want to support the show, of course, I do have the Etsy store, and I am always adding more products, so check that out. And that is www.etsy.com /monarch, MONARCH, MTN for Mountain Studio, STUDIO. So the call line is open tonight. And that number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond and in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. So thank you for joining me. And I got to thinking, it is rapidly approaching school season, and I had a couple of folks request, talking about going back to school for our pagan kiddos. And, it's a real thing. As we try to get back into, the swing of things of the school year and everything else. And just kind of what are the kids doing? How do we want to protect our kiddos? And also kind of, what are some of the things we can do as pagan with our children to bring them into kind of the pagan world and to start sharing our practice with them a little bit. And so this is a little bit more free flowing. I'm taking a page out of Brent Thomas and Don Longbeard in the Paranormal Portal, their page, and just reading some stuff offline. So I'm a little lost today. That's why. I am much better this week, so thank you for all the good wishes. And it's just been just crazy. I cannot believe how fast this year is going. Minnie Paisley, by the way, she's 5, and we have to go get her eyes checked. Can you imagine that? Eyes, already glasses. She's only 5 before we can start kindergarten. So, that's next week, and I feel for her. I've been wearing glasses since 5th grade, so I totally get it. And my grandson actually wears glasses, and I've got a niece and a nephew and my sisters and my parents. So there's glasses everywhere in my family. So she's excited, actually, and we're going to be looking into how to find some cheap frames because she is kind of one of those kids that likes to change her clothes constantly. So we'll probably find some sort of glasses that'll match her different outfits. It'll be fun. Another reason to shop, right? Everybody's favorite pastime. Sure. So anyways, moving on, just, pagan parenting. We hear so much stuff in the world out there today when it comes to parenting in general. Now, most of it really does seem to be Christian-based, which is fine for those that are, of that path. And then, but not everybody's a Christian. Not everybody wants to walk that path, and so it's a little frustrating sometimes that there's not a lot out there. A lot of the groups that get together have some sort of faith element to them that is more of an Abrahamic leaning, or a lot of clubs and that kind of thing. There's a lot of emphasis in and niche groups for Abrahamic faiths, and not so much on the pagan path. There are some things out there, of course, that are kind of more pagan related. And let's see, trying to find, there's just kind of, nope, I didn't find it. I have to look for it at break. Anyways, so it's just, what are we going to do for our kiddos? What are some things that we can do to support them on the path? And some of that is crafts, and some of that is spell work, and some of that is just sigil work, because that is out there. So anybody who does Knotwork actually might be familiar with knot spells. And that's something that, kids might actually like doing also. So there's, because, friendship bracelets are a thing. They were when I was a kid. Everybody likes making these little bracelets out of like embroidery thread or yarn or whatever. And, it's not a bad thing, because you can, the kids can wear them as necklaces, bracelets, hair ties. You can tie them around your backpacks. And as you're making those knots, you're putting your intention of protection into the bracelets or the knots themselves. And it's just another way to protect our kids. And I had like a whole list of things, and sigh, I did not do what I needed to do and saved all this stuff, which is of course frustrating, because that's just the way life is sometimes. But also remember that our kiddos like to participate. They like to copy us and be just like us, and so they're going to copy what we're doing rather. And so I hope you're making sure to set a good example of what they may need, or what you hope they will be doing or willing to do. And, that's teaching them mindfulness, thinking about their emotions, acknowledging their emotions. It is absolutely okay to feel things. It doesn't matter, boy, girl, gender fluid, any of that. Just make sure you give them permission to feel the things that they are feeling, because they have a right to feel just like we do. I mean, we have bad days as adults, as parents. We have things that frustrate us all the time, just like our kids do. I mean, they are individual people. So don't be afraid to allow them the same space to have a bad day as we do. There's been on more than one occasion I've looked at my kiddos and it's like, you know what, you guys? You're driving mommy nuts. I need a timeout. I'm going to my room for 15 minutes. Don't kill each other. And you know what? I do. I go take a 15-minute break, my own personal timeout, refocus, meditate, whatever it is I need to do. And then I'm able to go back out and be with the kiddos again. Now, of course, mine are all different ages, and there's a certain maturity level that has been attained now by all of them. So I can do that. I can let them be for 15 minutes. The boys are in their 20s, so by golly, I can leave them alone for days if I needed to. But my daughter, she's only 5, so 15 minutes of alone time, totally acceptable. You have to remember to do self-care when you're taking care of your kiddos also. It's important, because if you're not in the right headspace to take care of your kiddos and teach them what it means to be the best pagan you can be, then what kind of example are you really, really setting for them? So keep that in mind. Many musings. I may have to get that book. So she just says that she reads her kiddos the book Knots in a Counting Rope, and I would love that one. So just a real quick shout out, I suppose I should say hi to the folks that are listening to me. Ken, I see you're in TFR, and Drone, hello, hello. And then in YouTube, as I lock everything up, sorry guys, I see Black Tree, thank you for hanging out, and Renee and Deb, hi Deb, and Cameron, hello. And I saw Aether, so that means Dawn's in here. Many musings. Thank you, thank you. So, it's, if you have something you want to say, shout out, and I'll try to catch it and read it. So, let's see. Drone. Yep. Yes, autocorrect does stuff on purpose all of the time. Sorry, guys. So, our children are something to be protected at all times. I personally think now sometimes that protection actually is in letting them experience things within a controlled environment and allow them to experience the realities of life. If that means that they... sorry about the dogs, guys. If that means, letting them walk when they need to, or run when they need to, or whatever it is they need to experience, sometimes they really do have to learn by the school of hard knocks, unfortunately. I know my boys did, and yes, guys, if you heard the woof woof, that was Diego getting mad at Basil. Diego is is an AM staff, and he's a grouchy old man. And Minnie Paisley's BFF. He generally sleeps in her room, but apparently he decided that he needed to be down here in the studio. And then Basil is a beagle boxer who has all of the energy of the boxer, but the nose of the beagle, the nose for trouble. And he's been a mischief maker for a long time. Unfortunately, they're both about 14, and you'd think one of these days they'd grow up and stop being such argumentative children, but apparently dogs don't grow up either. So anyways, sorry about the woofs. So, when we're protecting our children, you can do sigil work or protection runes with string, and you can just, or pen or whatever. You can draw them either onto labels of, like inside the backpacks or their clothes, shoes. Probably not so much on their clothes because you're going to wash them a lot, but for drawing. But you can use like a needle and thread, and you can sew individual sigils or those protection runes actually into their clothing to help them. You can do calming runes or sigils to help them focus for learning. I think that's important. And opening their hearts to the peers around them, the kids around them. So, and the expressions of love, self-love and other love, mostly so that their mind is open to those experiences. Some safety stuff, into their clothing, in the seams, to protect them from harmful or negative thoughts or intentions, and all of that is just, before you do this, set your intention just like you would with any spell. Deep breath, cleansing, do your grounding with your roots into the earth, and let that negativity drain out and soak up the positivity of the universe, and then feed that into the work that you're doing, whether it's Knotwork, which is cool, or if you're doing the sigils or runes into their clothing or their backpacks. You can do the same thing with like glue, and just do it into their books or their notebooks, onto their pens. You can do any of that, just to add that little bit of extra protection for our kiddos. Good evening, Nellie. And it's good. It's good for them. it is good for us. It's good for our practice. And if you have, as they get older, you can have them help you, either identify personal protection sigils, which is important, or, have a family protection sigil, which I think is important as well. And if you make your school lunches for your kiddos, don't be afraid to draw, good health sigils or intentions into your sandwiches, whether you're making peanut butter or cheese sandwiches or whatever it is. So anyways, just really, make sure you're setting those intentions. Hold on. Deb said something. I'm trying to see what it is. Oh, I had a little orb. Oh, how cool. That's exciting. So maybe the paranormal portal spirit just kind of came through here. That's kind of cool. So there's other things you can do for your kiddos, though. You could do a protection spell. Very similar to some of the rhymes that we recited as children, like Starlight Star Bright. You can adapt that to you can change the words to it a little bit, or row, row, row your boat. Any of those little tunes that we have learned through growing up and such. You can adapt those and add your own spin to them to help your kiddos remember different things, like asking the god or goddess for protection, or asking for guidance. For me, we have kind of a little bedtime ritual for Minnie Paisley, and she and I we read 3 stories. Story number 3 is always Goodnight Turtle, and it's the best little book because this little turtle goes all the way through and says goodnight to all his little friends, and he has a story, and then he goes to sleep. And it's not pagan; it's just a good story, kind of a, the ritualistic process of getting ready for bed, and from there, we cuddle for just a little bit. She gives me good snuggles, and then she goes to bed, which she's really good about going to bed. Oh my gosh. I hope she stays like this and doesn't turn into a tween anytime in the near future. And then she always calls me her best friend, which is super sweet, and she's my favorite little girl, which is really cute. And then there's a bell that we ding every night. And she has certain things that she has to say to me every night before she can go to sleep, which is cool. And but that's ours. For your own children, I would really recommend developing your own. There's all sorts of stuff on Google, on Pinterest. You can make them up on your own. Here's one. It says, watch over my child as she sleeps and plays. Keep her safe in all ways. Protect him both night and day, knowing all fears and harm are at bay. Real simple. And it's a good one to, help your kiddo, get that focus into getting ready for sleep. And you can do the same thing if you're trying to get them to settle, or if they're feeling scared at night. You can do a couple of things there too. You could also do the monster spray, which is often like essential oils like lavender or others. Not always, but double check to make sure they're appropriate for your child. And I would recommend using essential oils, not perfumes. And mix them with some water, shake it up, spray it on the floor underneath the bed, that kind of thing. So that lavender is generally pretty soothing for kiddos. Just again, double check, make sure the allergens are not going to affect your kiddos, or it's the right age group. So great, lots of orbs today, guys. I have to tell you, this house, I know there are spirits in here. Definitely. the folks that lived here previously, occasionally there's one room can totally tell when they're being active, because the smells of the house really do change. It's just we've got goosebumps. There's a chant here that I wanted to go over real quick, that you could say as you're getting ready for the day, or the kiddos are getting ready to head out to school. It's really simple, and just a way to touchstone your faith and making sure that they're in the right mindset, and that ritual is really good, just to get them going. So this one is real simple. God and Goddess, hear my plea, bring to me this day I see. Hear these words, the ones I say, and let me have a wonderful day. May it be good without any bad, may it be happy and never sad. I ask of you this very hour, bring this to light with your divine power. As the candles burn and forever shine, bring upon this day of mine. God and Goddess, hear my plea. Bring to me this day I see, so mote it be. So yeah, I think it's stuff like that is just awesome. Awesome, because you're connecting not just with your own practice and your own path, but you're also helping your children start down your path as well. Because admittedly, there's a lot of stuff about being a pagan that is not age appropriate for anybody under the age of 18. It's okay. Some of it's 13, but it varies just a bit. And so you need to, if as you're integrating your children or allowing them to be more into your path, you do need to kind of build them up to it. You don't have to just jump out and say, "Ooh, hey, you have to do this now." Little steps, baby steps, and be ready to answer questions, because they're gonna have them. And you can start off with little stories. For instance, right now, we're getting ready for school, but shortly after school starts, we're going to be looking at Samhain coming up in October. Can you believe that already? We're talking about fall, and so many of us are still kind of baking away. So, yeah, just be ready. It's coming. But there's a lot of different crafts you can do for Samhain, for instance. Carving jack-o'-lanterns is definitely a big thing. Oh yes, call in. Don't forget to call in. Thanks, Black Tree, for reminding me. Yes, that call-in number is, real quick, 213-233-3998. Or if you're in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. And I'll try to remember to check the call board periodically. Just one of these days, I will have my helper again. And anyway, so as I was saying, yes, Samhain's coming up, and collecting leaves. I know, like last year, as the acorns started to fall, we gathered acorns, we gathered leaves. My daughter was drawing leaves and coloring on leaves, which is awesome. And you can do lots of crafts that way, wreaths to hang on the door. And I think Samhain and Yule are probably the easiest holidays to decorate for, period. Just because it's obvious. You decorate for both. Because they're, Halloween and Christmas, that's essentially the same decorations. Where do you think they came from? Austera, the rabbits, Beltane is generally a maple. Generally the maple is more a fertility rate, but if you've got your kiddos around, maybe plant a tree instead. So just, keep your kiddos involved, do things with them. Mabon, it's coming up too. That's the autumn equinox. So, what are you going to do? How are you going to celebrate? One thing you could do, go to an orchard, collect apples, fruit, do a food drive, support your local community. Those are all really, really good things. Seasonal crafts like gourd squash, cornucopia, just celebrating your home, cleaning actually as we do spring cleaning, fall cleaning, that kind of thing. As you set your intention to do those activities, do a little bit of ritual with your kiddos and make sure they know that you're cleaning to, get rid of the old negative energy and make room for the new. You can smudge a little bit, teach them about smudging. You can make smudge sticks. That may be a fun thing or an interesting craft thing to do with your kiddos. Now, there is a website that has a lot of fun information. They generally keep it pretty, there's a variety of age-appropriate activities. Oh, and we'll talk about it right after the break because, holy cow, here it is coming already. And see you in a bit. From break. That was quick. And so just for those of you that are in TFR, it looks like Renee and Deb are seeing stuff around me and behind me, which, from what I understand, you don't generally want to know about the ghosts around you, but I guess that's okay. They seem to be pretty positive, pretty good folks. They've been pretty welcoming to us so far. So anyways, yeah, if you want to call in, please do so. The call lines are open. It is 213-233-3998. Or like I said, if you're across the pond, it is 44203-393-2871. Now, if you do have something you want to share that you don't want to call in for, that's fine. You can always email me at wildpaisley@gmail.com. And that's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And you are always more than welcome to check me out on the podcast world too. And at the Etsy store address, if you wanted to know that, is www.etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio, and Mountain is MTN. And if there's a product you're interested in, like a cup, mug, that kind of thing, or something of interest that you think we should be adding, by all means, send me a message. Let me know. And let me know, and I will see what I can do to get it going. And so, anyways, we were talking about kid stuff. So there's a website called pookapages.com. That's POOKA pages.com, and there's just a bunch of age-appropriate crafts and activities and just information in here. There's coloring pages. There's talking about the SBATs and the Sabbats and the different holidays. And they're just cute drawings and cartoons and such. And if you've got little ones, especially those that are crafty, they might really connect with this. Puka is technically a cat, I think, through the website. At least it looks like a cat type icon. And just a lot of good information there. So other than that, Pagan Parenting, let's see. Pagan Parenting really does seem to be coming back into fashion, if you will. It seems like more people are accepting of the pagan path, and so having pagan parents is okay, or pagan activities. Yes, Little Acorns is good as well, Black Tree. And sorry. If you guys see another orb, just let me know, and I will point it out, or notice it, and I'll have to go back and watch the video there, Renee and Deb, because I'm curious. And maybe I'll have Brent and Dawn come down to the studio and check it out. Anyways, with the rise and reconnection of paganism to our society, more people are becoming more aware of the earth and some of the environmental impact that we have had just as we go through life. From just the garbage we generate to the way we just do things, whether it's the stuff we buy or the way things are packaged or stuff like that. So taking the opportunity to go to like the farmer's market, even though it doesn't seem like it's a very pagan thing, you're actually connecting to your community, which is good. And you're also showing your children where food comes from just a little bit. Here locally, there are you pick places like You Pick Berries. Here in about 4 to 6 weeks, there will be a pumpkin patch type thing. Those are pretty common everywhere. And so little things like that are a great way for you to connect with your children and show them where, not only where food comes from, but different activities you can do within those. So paganism is generally pretty ecologically friendly as we're going out and just collecting and hiking and interacting with nature. Just make sure if you are picking up things, you're also being aware of the local laws and restrictions, especially when it comes to picking up rocks or feathers, because some things are very protected in where they're at. I personally think it'd be fun before summer ends to take mini paisley garnet hunting here locally. And then educational. The more we interact with our children, one, it gives them just a really good feeling to interact with us. It's generally quality over quantity. If you spend every day with your kiddos and you don't do anything and everybody just stares at electronic devices, you're not having a really good connection with your kiddos. It's just not happening. But if you limit the screen time, you go outside, you go hikes, and you do walks, and you collect things for your altar, or just observe wildlife, or go to the park and just be in the grass, get your feet in the dirt, ground out just a little bit. That's important, and your kiddos are going to learn from that. There are various classes that you can take through your local community colleges, through your schools, or just different clubs that will talk about, like, your gardening clubs or your mushroom clubs, or different bird watching clubs, just to let your kiddos learn about the world around them. And the more they learn about the world around them, the more they'll be open to seeing the god and the goddess in everyday life. And paganism really is universal, to be honest. I mean, we are spread out all over the world, and we all have various different beliefs. Of course, we all have slightly different paths, different traditions, but we all believe in essentially similar things. And it's not like the Catholics and the Reformationists, in the old world, we're all just pagans. Some of us are Norse, some Celtic, some eclectic, some Hindu, some ancestor worship, some shamanistic, some Egyptian. It doesn't matter. We're all slightly different, but we all are open to that experience. So that's very, very universal. Paganism is generally pretty tolerant, to be honest. We know what it's like to be, marginalized and downtrodden and not accepted. And instead of doing that to others, we try to be open and just allow, people to be who they need to be. We don't feel like we have to force them into something. And I gotta tell you, being a pagan's fun. We have so many holidays. We have so many things we can celebrate. We do all these fun craft things. We connect with the land. We observe the energies around us. It's all just fun. And whether it's learning about, the bugs around us, what the meaning of a dragonfly, for instance, or, helping out a turtle crossing the road, it's all just interactive and fun. It's also very ancestral. Different cultures throughout the world have celebrated paganism at one point or another. And a lot of those are definitely ritualized, so walking in those same footsteps and that same path. So if you are following Ra, for instance, or Isis or Osiris, and you have the opportunity to go to Egypt, how cool would that be? To me, that would be super cool. Even though that's not my pantheon, I still think it'd be cool. I would love to go see the architecture in Europe. I think it'd be fun. I would love to go to Scotland and Ireland and actually be some of the places that I read about in the history books. I can't imagine why my children wouldn't enjoy that also. Granted, I know budgets are very diverse, and not everybody can do that. Some of it is going to have to be, remotely or online, and that's okay. It is okay. You still can interact with your local world. And it's, there's other places to go to learn more about pagan parenting, or how to be a pagan parent. You don't have to be Wiccan to be a pagan parent. And that's okay. It really, really is fine, because we are all different paths, just like there's so many different traditions. We're teaching it and having our children experience all of those different things. So the Pagan Cottage is a really good site. It's a blog about being a pagan parent. A lot of good information there. Parenting by the Light of the Moon and Witch Mom. She's really, really good too. She's more of a fairy kitchen witch, but she's really fun. And there's a lot of good information, and she has a couple littles. So she talks about homeschooling or unschooling, if you will. The Pagan Cottage, that's more homeopathy, recipes, craft work. Primordial Willow is another blog, and it's another one about herbalism, wild crafting, different activities for your kiddos to do during the Sabbaths. There's a couple different pagan homeschooling pages. I mean, Google has a wealth of information on pagan parenting just in general. And, just be aware, though, just like any other topic that you're researching for your path, to just research, keep your mind open, double check your resources just like you would any other topic. I mean, we don't just watch the news and assume everything they say is real, because a lot of it is not. A lot of it's skewed for ratings. There's a lot of the information that you're looking for online is going to be skewed slightly for attention getting. I know that me personally, when I'm doing research, it's quite frustrating if I do a quick search on, say, Spellcasting 101, and half of the information I see on the top page is for Dungeons & Dragons, or Skyrim, or Assassin's Creed, or any of those other video games, or games, or role-playing games, whatever. I don't need that information. It's not going to affect me. It's not what I'm looking for. But that's what the information is like out there. So you have to really glean the real information from the fiction, because there's the Harry Potter world is out there. The Lord of the Rings magic is out there. It's all out there, and people talk about it as if it's very, very real. And it's quite frustrating. I found some really good articles that's like, oh, this is great information, I really love what I'm reading, and then it gets down to, and by the way, the hobbits, or it's like, really, this is not what I want. So yeah, it's frustrating. So be aware of what you're researching, and make sure that you're giving your kiddos the information that is actually has some fact to it, not just some randomness that has come up and is associated with Dungeons and Dragons. Not there's anything wrong with D&D, but it's not going to get you very far along your path. Now, there's often questions about, at what age should you start talking to your children about paganism? That's really kind of an intuitive thing, something that you need to figure out for yourself, because you're going to know your children the best. You know them better than anybody else does. And so you will know when they're ready. Now, for me, it was just going out and hiking and picking up things for our Yule log last year and altar. As my daughter started asking questions, so we started with the Holly King and the Oak King, and just started going there. And now I don't go into the tales in big depth, major depth, with a lot of detail and information, because she's not ready for it. But she's curious and she wants to know more, and I don't have a problem sharing that with her. I'm learning more about the runes and doing more there. She wants to know more about the runes too. Now, she does need to learn how to write her ABCs and her 1, 2, 3s before she really gets into rune work. But at the same time, studies are showing that kids learn second languages very, very quickly and very, very well when they're just starting out in the education world. So whether kindergarten, first grade, that kind of thing. So just keep it age appropriate. There's some things you're not going to do with your kiddos, and that's correct. When it comes to having an altar, that needs to be age appropriate also. If you have a toddler and your toddler wants to have a pretend altar, by all means, let them go for it. I would probably not get a bunch of expensive breakable things. Dollar store is a great place to go. Yard sales, thrift stores, I do that for myself anyways, so why would I do anything different for my daughter? It just makes sense. And it's kind of fun, because if you go to the dollar store or the thrift store and you get some fabric, they can draw whatever they want on them. She made the cutest little unicorn. I'll have to try to put it on Facebook. Under a rainbow, it looks like a unicorn cat. It really does. It's fluffy. But that kind of thing is awesome. And so just that fabric is just some way for them to be creative. And whether it's plastic cups, let them draw with markers or paints or any of that, and just let them, be free. It's an opportunity for them to learn and interact. Just make sure you're keeping things safe. You're keeping the content appropriate for your age group, because it doesn't matter how old they are. Even I am guilty of knocking over the occasional candle, and we don't want that on our altars because a lot of that stuff is not fire friendly and will go up in smoke, and we don't want that. So, maybe have the little LED, votive candles for your kiddos instead of real candles. That's fine. It's representative, and they're just learning about it. And, there's nothing wrong with doing substitutions for your kiddos, because in a way, they're still practicing at play. They're not necessarily doing real ritual work. It's you could use like the plastic wine glass for a chalice, for instance, or a butter knife for, one of those play butter knives for an athame, or a composition book or a spiral notebook for a book of shadows. Or there's all those awesome looking coloring books that you can find there on Amazon now, or I've seen them at the dollar store even, where there's just things you can color, and it's fun. So there's incense. I'm a little reluctant with incense for kiddos, just because, again, they're younger, their lungs are developing. Just be cautious. Same with essential oils. Personally, I would rather just have a ionizer with a couple drops of age-appropriate essential oils, and then just keep an eye on them. Absolutely. Meditation. It doesn't really matter how old your kiddos are. Meditation is good, because it's a good way to teach them how to sit quietly and observe. And it's a way for them to get in touch with their inner emotions. Maybe settle them down and get them ready for bed, or get them ready for the day, or if they're having a stressful moment or upset about something, they don't know how to handle the emotions, have them meditate for just a few minutes. There are some studies happening where instead of putting kiddos in timeout or giving them punishments, they're giving them meditation periods in some of the inner city schools, and they're seeing that the meditation is actually good. The behaviors are getting better rather than reinforcing the negatives, so which is awesome. You can also, just for storage, there's you can use little totes. You can use boxes. If you have an old shoebox, let them decorate it. That's what Minnie Paisley did, and she's, of course, done so many other things with it. I think she sat on it, or the dog sat on it. You guys heard Diego bark earlier. He's 90 pounds, and once he gets going, he just doesn't stop. And so, hey, Don and Brent, you joined the crew. Yay! And if he decides to sit on something, it's gone. It's just all there is to it. And he loves being as close to her as he possibly can. So it is what it is. And she's learning also about how to take care of her stuff that way too, because she has discovered that if she leaves all of that stuff on the floor, Diego's going to sit on it and squish it. So she's learning how to take care of her things in the process. Now, I personally think that kiddos really do make some of the best pagans, though, because they soak up information like a sponge. Anybody who's been around a toddler knows that they will repeat anything at the worst possible time. So instead of teaching them swear words, which happens, teach them something else. Teach them how to respond and how to accept magic and paganism, and just observe your behaviors and what you're doing. You can do Wiccan Christianese in initiations and such instead of baptism. Very similar, in theory and practice, but it's just a slightly different ceremony. And it's basically a formal introduction of your child into your circle or your coven, or your path. And this can happen at any age. And just like Christian baptisms, you gather your closest friends and family, and you're welcoming the family. And this can happen at pretty much any age, not just at birth. Now, initiation itself is generally, I wouldn't do that necessarily for your kiddos unless they are really into it and that kind of thing. I would really talk to your priestess or your guides and make sure that you're not jumping the gun there. I would actually wait for them to be a little bit older and understand things a little bit more, the consequences. And now, when you're all grown up, of course, there's hand fastings, hand partings even. Just make sure you are talking to your local clergy, your high priestess or high priest, and have them help you figure out a nice ritual to have your kiddos participate in. And that's fun. It's very family friendly. And now, be aware that your kiddos are going to go to school and they're going to encounter people who are not pagans. It's going to happen because they're everywhere. And that's okay. And some kids are not going to understand. They really aren't. They're going to think, oh, your mom's weird, or your dad's weird, or you guys have a weird family, and it's just one more your weird thing. And that's okay. It's an opportunity to teach your children about diversity a bit and acceptance. And also, be aware that sometimes your children can also hear things from their teachers. A friend of mine, her niece experienced a situation not too long ago where the teacher was passing out pamphlets about Christianity, and mom kind of came unhinged and was very, very upset about it and offended. And the daughter, or the niece, actually came out and ended up just like, hey, listen, this is not okay. This is not going to work. And told the teacher that it wasn't appropriate and really stood up for herself. And that's excellent. And that's what we want, is we want to teach our children to be able to stand up for themselves and do what they need to. And then, just basically your pagan family is it's just the people you want to have in your circle. Now, this can be not just your significant other. It can be it can be your close friends, your family, the other people in your circle, and that's fine. That's good. That's good. You can do scrapbooking to start teaching your children, how do you get started on and have a book of shadows. You can plant seeds at with spring and harvest and fall, and just teach them the cycle of life and the turning of the wheel. And in the process, you'll build some really great memories and some really fun experiences that you will have as a family and as a group. So, on that note, we are just about done for the evening. Holy cow, this has been a quick hour. And if you do want to send me any information or stories, or you have a question about the show, please do so. The email is wildpaisley, that's WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. And I would love to hear what you have to say. And again, if you want to check out the store, it's www.etsy.com/shop/MonarchMTN And we will be back on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. here on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, and TalkStream. Tune in live or whatever it is. And also YouTube, because, hey, it's working out. And, yeah, it's awesome. I love having you guys here. Thank you for joining me here on my own personal journey. And until we see you again, if catch us on Facebook, and if you are local to the Pacific Northwest, check out the Hectic Eclectics, if I say that 10 times real fast, I'll trip over it, site to find out when we're going to get back together again to do another one of our coffee meetings. So we'd love to have you. Come out and join us. And I try to think what else. There's one more thing I want to say. Anyways, love your children. Accept them as they are, and teach them to accept others as they are. And I think if we can do this as a group, our world will be better just in general. So, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. And thank you for joining me here tonight on The Spaces Between. And this is Paisley Wild.